I'm Jared Lintner, Tackle Warehouse Pro, and we're going to talk about the final two events of the Bassmaster Elite Series season. You know, the Mississippi River and Lake Oneida are two totally different types of fisheries. You know, one has tons of smallmouth, obviously Lake Oneida, and the Mississippi River, it was, you know, with the high waters we've been having, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're dumping the water because of all the rain up north. It proved to be the toughest tournament on the Elite Series since, what, 4 or 5 years ago now. But Kevin Short figured out a way to catch him, and you know, he proved to be the winner. His primary baits were, he was throwing a square bill in anywhere from, I would say, 2 to 6 foot, you know, fishing laydowns, any type of structure that was on the bank, because you know, with the water falling, there wasn't that much stuff in the water, so when you found a good laydown or a good stump, there was usually a fish on it, and he made repetitive casts, you know, deflected the bait off of the structure, and you know, the fish would eat it. Another bait he was throwing was a Strike King Premier spinnerbait. You know, same type of situation, just giving the fish something different to look at. When the reaction bite wasn't happening, he slowed down. He was flipping a June Bug Speed CRAW. You know, it's a small profile bait, but it puts off a lot of action, a lot of vibration. And you know, he just worked that through the laydowns, through the wood, whatever was there. Another bait he was flipping was a Strike King coffee tube. Seemed to be one of the hotter baits going this year. You know, same thing with the Speed CRAW. He just, you know, finessing it through the wood around the structure that was available, and triggering those key bites. You know, it didn't take much to win that tournament, but you know, my hat's off to him. I mean, he did a great job. My approach to the Mississippi River was, I found pretty much the same backwaters that all 98 other boats found. Basically I went with my strengths. You know, I fished this SASUTEKI CRAW, black and blue. You know, the water was dirt brown in color. And, you know, again, like Kevin, just made repetitive casts to, you know, a brush pile. I'd fish it for 15, 20 minutes. Another bait I was throwing that I did get some really good bites on was the TRU-TUNGSTEN jig, sunfish color, with a green pumpkin trailer. Even though the water was dirty, maybe because everybody else was throwing black and blue baits, you know, like my first choice, but I did get some key bites behind other guys. And when the sun got up and there was shade, I would skip this frog. It's a SPRO frog, tree frog, and I'd skip it back up under the shade, and I got some good bites doing that. Finally, the last tournament of the year was won by Chad Griffin. You know, we were fishing Lake Oneida, and it's typically, you know, known as a smallmouth fishery. However, all 3 years that we've been there, it's been won with largemouth, and he's, I think, been the first guy to win it with a combination. He caught big smallmouth and big largemouth. His key baits, first of all, was this ZELL pop. And basically, he was just getting out in these big grass flats and looking for the bigger clumps and throwing this right over the top, working it real slow, and catching those aggressive fish. When he wasn't doing that, he'd flip his EZEE jig, his namesake EZEE jig, you know, with a packet CRAW trailer. It's 1.5 ounce weight. So he was fishing it real fast, trying to get a reaction strike down below the surface. Another bait, he was throwing the spray grass beaver. Same type of presentation, just giving the fish a different look. And then my approach was, I've done really good there in the past, and I love catching smallmouth. So my first thing that I did in practice was establish a smallmouth pattern, if you will. I found some shell beds in 5 to 10 feet of water, and my favorite thing to do is catch them on a jig. And this is actually the jig that, with my name on it, from Picasso, a little finesse jig with this twin tail Berkeley grub, basically. And I think that power bait scent really drew a lot of those fish to come over and eat it, because I mean, I caught the crap out of them, sorry. But you know, the key thing about it was I was making big hops right off when I'd hit a shell bed, I'd make a big hop, and before it could hit the bottom, they were on it. Another thing I was doing, once I got my limit, I would go throw a frog looking for largemouth, and you know, I did get some good bites on it. I caught a 4.5 pounder the last day doing it. And another thing that I kind of got turned on to before I left for Oneida, actually, was this punch skirt. It's made by PAYCHECK baits, and basically what it is, it's a jig skirt that is free floating. So I mean, it pulls away from the bait, and I was flipping this on a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight, and I was using this SASUTEKI CRAW as a trailer, but it made a real natural presentation. And I mean, I was catching some big smallmouth on 80-pound braid with a 3/4 ounce weight. It was like made in heaven for me. So if you don't have any of these punch skirts, it's the new hottest thing, especially out here on the West Coast, the Delta and Clear Lake. You better have them if you're fishing out here. And that wraps up the 2009 season. You know, I'm looking forward to next year already. You know, we're coming out here to the West Coast, my home lakes pretty much. Looking forward to fishing the Delta and Clear Lake. It'll probably be a swim bait deal, and I'm excited about it. So tune in until next time.